welcome to the Utah Puck Report. This is like the post-draft, post-free agent frenzy uh, wrap-up, kind of like just kind of get our heads wrapped around everything that's been going on episode. And I got to thank my sponsors, which is Larry H. Miller Toyota, who's kind enough to sponsor us. And when you buy a Toyota from Larry H. Miller, you're not just a customer; you're part of the family. When you're part of the family, getting your car serviced or buying another car is always easy. Just look him up, larryhmiller.com, or head on down to Murray. Ask for Jeffrey. Tell him you want a new Mazda or a new Toyota, and he'll hook you up. He knows exactly what to do. I know you're gonna want one of those Rav4s. I'm gonna try and talk you into the 4Runner though. Today we've got a panel going. Adrian Denny from the Utah Mammoth, Casey Ruff, just from around the hockey world, and Bill McCloud from the Outliers. Guys, thanks for being on the show.
Thanks, Jay.
Thanks, Jay.
So much.
Where do you think we should start with this, Adrian? Do we start with the trade, or should we start with the free agency craziness today?
Well, let's stay breaking news. Let's stay with the free agency and then talk about the trade. What do you think about that? Is that in the AP style book of journalism of what you're supposed to do?
I guess so. And if you want to go like down to the wire, I thought, man, we could do this at 3:00, but I think we need to wait till 3:30 till everything kind of really does filter through. 5:30 Eastern. It's supposed to stop at 5:00 Eastern. And we had kind of a last minute deal come up. We picked up another goaltender. The Utah Mammoth picked up Vitek Vanacek from Florida. And everybody speculating thought Bill was going to go after his old boy Jake Allen. And this one, great goaltender, very experienced, and a cup winner now, although he watched most of it from the bench. But Adrian, we'll start with you. What's your take on that pickup?
Well, I think it's a bargain. Depth is great, and the Utah Mammoth have depth across the board with a forward signed today, a defenseman, and the goalie, which was the latest one that we saw. And you see this, and the first question is Connor Ingram not coming back? And Bill has said it for the last 2 weeks. He said goaltender depth is a priority. Connor Ingram is in the player assistance program and by all accounts doing well, but you'll take depth in any area, in any spot you can put it. Leads to competition. It leads to great decisions that you've got to make. And Bill just telling us in his availability this afternoon, we're going to have a competitive camp, the most competitive camp we've ever had. And you love this signing, but I look at it like, what a bargain. This is a guy who 2 years ago won 33 games with the New Jersey Devils. So to add him to a goaltending department that includes Karel Vejmelka, 5-year deal, Connor Ingram, now Vanacek, and the two guys we saw in the American Hockey League last year that made appearances with Utah, and Matt Villalta, Jackson Stauber, not to mention the pipeline of prospects that we've got here, development camp. It's all great stuff, and love the signing and love depth, because you enter with everything on paper, but how often do you get through it? Bill just saying you say 6 defensemen, but you really need 7, because your 7th D is playing 55 games a year. But from the pedigree of adding another Stanley Cup champion, I'll have to go back and do the math. Bill says we now have 10 on the roster. We added 2 more rings today
With Nate Schmidt. Yeah, another big one.
And now Vanacek, but pretty solid, and love it all.
Yeah, and whether you're in the, whether you're taking EAP or not, you are going to have to compete for your job in the NHL, and it's not, you can't take it easy on a guy just because of whatever. And Connor can come in and he can compete like he's had to compete his entire life, his entire career, and fight for that spot. And like you said, when you're competing, it usually makes you play a little bit better, or it doesn't, but then that shows, and the right person usually gets that spot. Casey, we'll go with you. What Were you surprised by the last move, or what were you? Did you think we'd pick up a goalie, or that the Mammoth would pick up a goalie, or what were you thinking?
Well, yeah, I knew it was a need. I mean, this is the first time that I've followed a franchise as closely as I have. And one thing that's really stuck out to me is how long some of these players take to develop these positions, good defensemen, really solid goaltenders. Jay, you're a goaltender, so I just kind of assume goaltenders must fall out of trees. And that's just not the case. Like some of these guys are getting drafted 18, 19, and they're cooking in the minors for 5, 6, 7, 8 years before they get their chance. And so obviously it's a need. Mental health is the most important thing at this time for Connor, but the fact is we just don't know, and we don't want to get stuck in a similar position where we were last year, where we're making call ups to guys who just need a little bit more development time.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. I want to see Matty V and Stauber get the chance to come up and really get some playing time. And this I think gives them another solid year of maturity. We watched one of our drafted goalies in Michael Hrabel. He told me how to say his name yesterday, and there's no way I'm going to say it the way he said it. But Hrabel turned down a contract to play another year of college before he comes out. So that extends his path out a little bit as far as development. So goalies take longer than forwards. Forwards still take a long time. Forwards take 3 to 5 years. Goalies take 4 to 7 years typically. So very cool. Excited to see how that goes in camp. It's been fun to watch the goalies we've had in the development camp. And so let's go with the next pick, the next free agent that we picked up. I guess we're going in reverse order here. Breaking news, reverse order here.
That's what they tell us in journalism school, right?
Yeah. See, I'm gonna just say since I never went to journalism school.
Now that I have my mic plugged in, right? Does this sound better than my answer on the goalies? I carry around all this podcast equipment, and it's great when I set it up right.
It's tough. Hey, it's a learning curve for me. You do sound better. You sounded fine before.
Thank you.
So that brings us to Schmidt. Are we going in reverse order? Does that bring us to Schmidt next?
Let's do it.
So honestly, one of my, when he was with Vegas, he was one of my favorite players to watch. I enjoyed watching him with Vegas. I hated him seeing him on other teams. Nate Schmidt we picked up, and then I believe I'm trying to look. Adrian, what did we re-sign him for? Did we extended him, right?
3 years, 3.5 million.
That's right. I have it in a text message, but I can't find where I wrote it on the computer. But that's huge for us. And Bill, why don't we start with you since you haven't got to pipe in yet? What's your thought on this pickup?
I think it's a good pickup. I mean, obviously for the money and everything, but I think my concerns are, is he going to be as successful here with the Utah Mammoth as he was with a team like the Florida Panthers? I mean, they went to the Cup and he contributed a little bit, but look at what he was surrounded with. And so I really hope that, he blends in with our team and he's able to be successful here as well. He's a great hockey player, but in the end, he's proven, with how many times he's been traded to so many teams, is the Panthers the team that he was meant to fit in with? And is that where he'll be most successful with? Or can he learn, take what he learned and come do that here in Utah as well? And that's what I'm hoping for.
Yeah, that's probably what
it's a big question though.
Yeah, and I'm sure that's what they're hoping, is that now we have all the Stanley Cup championship experience. But just going over Schmidt's last few seasons, if this gives you any idea, just even going back to 2015, plus 12, plus 22, plus 19, plus 22, plus 11. He had 1 year, he had 2 years where he was minus with Vancouver, and then back into plus 15, plus 10. Plus 15, that's huge in the NHL.
Yeah.
So to pick up a
defenseman for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's kind of like your ultimate judge. I don't know that that's fair or not. I know save percentages aren't exactly fair for goalies. Plus minus might not be as fair for defensemen.
I think he also had a factor in shutting down Connor McDavid in the finals. I mean, he was matched up with him a few times, and I really think he did great. And I think that is part of the reason too, maybe why they're looking at him. I mean, I think he played strong against McDavid and, made a difference on that end and made himself look a little more valuable. So
yeah, for sure. And that's one of the things I kept noticing during you would see him on the ice and he was getting those minutes, and it was him and Barkov just all over McDavid. Adrian, what are you thinking in there? What's the talk inside?
Yeah, it's just adding another winner. Like, listen to these teams he's played for. As you said them too: Washington Capitals, Vegas Golden Knights, Winnipeg Jets, Florida Panthers, 99 career Stanley Cup playoff games, and it's just another winner that you're adding to the locker room. And I've heard from folks in Florida already that he's just a great personality, a great guy. Could go into broadcasting when his career comes to an end. So it's pretty much just another garden variety Bill Armstrong signing on free agency of a winner who's a character guy. This looks a lot like the Ian Cole signing from last year, guys. A guy that makes the playoffs every single season, has a Stanley Cup ring, and just comes in and is all business. 741 career NHL games, and he's 33 years old. But this is a pickup, I think. You look at your D, and you traded away a right D last week in Kesselring, but you've got depth in your system. But I think you look at this, and you're at the grocery store, and you see some Nate Schmidt, and you're like, how do we not add this? Yeah, we'll put that in the cart. We got to have it. Can't walk away from this.
But weren't you watching all these moves? I want answer. We'll start with Adrian, but I want everybody to answer this one. Weren't you watching all the moves? And when you saw Doan and Kesselring go, and we brought in one, and a good one with Paterka, and then you see some of the other moves go, you see Michelli go, Bukestad's gone, and you're like, okay, they're freeing up not just cap space, but they're freeing up room for Boots and Simashev, and some of those guys you're seeing it because, man, I'm watching that dev camp, and I'm sure you're seeing the same stuff I'm seeing. If you get Cole Baudouin, and I still think Owen Allard are going to be hard to not put on your roster if they're turning pro. And watching those guys, and I know they're just playing against other drafted kids, but there's something to those guys that's the brute force power forward stuff you're looking at. I thought we were making room for guys like that, and then we go in and kind of fill it with veteran experience. It just kind of, I thought I saw the plan, and I said this before. Every time I think I know what's going on, Bill Armstrong throws a curve. So I can tell what most GMs are going to do. Like I said 2 months ago that I thought Marner was going to Vegas, and I was proven right on that. I'm going to pull up all the posts that I put on that, and everybody that said I was wrong, and tag them in it. But I thought we were making room, and here we are. Adrian, is this just what we do to make sure we make the playoffs this year? And does that cost us giving these young guys experience?
Tightening up loose ends is what Bill said about these signings, and you look at them, and you were in the hunt to make the playoffs the final week or two going into the regular season last year, and identified some spots that you wanted to improve on scoring. So you get Paterka, the size, the physicality, Tanev, Schmidt, because you can, Vanacek. So Veggie isn't playing 20 plus games in a row. He was great. Would we have done it if we had a backup like Vanacek or Connor Ingram ready to go? No. Those guys will develop. That's why we have an American Hockey League affiliate in Tucson. And when they're fully baked, they'll be ready to go. And they'll be able to step right in, like guys like Kesselring, like D. Simone, who's been in the AHL, Gunther, Cooley, Michelli, Carcone. Give the historical example of not all those guys are here, but the ways that they've stepped in. But I think this team is entering their window where they are ready to make the playoffs every year. And you loose ends is the way Bill put it. I think is the best way to add to it. And they're not long-term deals. They don't tie up cap space. They don't tie up roster space. We were lucky last year from a forward standpoint that nobody got hurt really the entire year. Gunther missed a month. Cooley missed 7 games. Defensively, we were snake bitten, but you take it if you can get it. And guys, what do we have now? It's still entered the day with almost 19 million in cap space, and it didn't go down that much by adding these 3 three pieces, veteran experience that know how to win. So that's fun. And Jay, watching this development camp, we wanted more scoring, we wanted more size, we wanted more physicality. Well, it's all on the ice. It's all out there. We're not going to be entering free agency ever again saying that those are the things we need, because we got them. But over the course of 4 or 5 years of drafting and building this team the way that Bill and the team envision it, there they are. They're on the ice right now, and we're close to entering that window. And the first thing to opening that window is becoming a playoff team every year.
Yeah, that does make sense. And it was funny talking to Bill yesterday. And this is the thing that blew my mind yesterday. I'm standing there talking to Bill Armstrong, and we're just talking. He told me about how, they're bringing in their players, and everybody's assuming they're Jazz players now because they got so much height all of a sudden. And then you've got, I'm standing there talking to him, and I get an alert on my phone, and I look at my phone and see that, we had just traded Michelli, and I'm like, you're standing right here. Shouldn't you be? I guess that was already done before he came walking out, obviously, before we found out about it. Casey, talk to me about what you're thinking. You're seeing all this stuff going on, and what were you thinking before today? What did you think would happen before today based on what you thought we need and what you thought we had in camp?
Well, there was all that talk about landing the superstar, kind of in the peak of their career and spending tons of money. Like Adrian said, like with cap, we had the money to spend, and would we lure somebody like Sam Bennett or Mitch Marner to Utah? And I was never on board with that as an idea. I think you end up with really bad contracts. We see teams get stuck all the time in that kind of situation. So I think what Adrian said really makes most sense. With the cap space we have, we got these, veteran players on shorter contracts that are not very expensive, especially with the cap going up. 3-year contracts. That's a great situation to land some veteran players. And I'm glad that's kind of the person that we targeted. The people that we targeted were, they're veteran players. We're not tying them down for 7-8 years, committing, maybe 10 figures to stay here. We do have kids on the come up, and we do have kids that are going to be ready eventually. Maybe some are ready now, but I think we saw it with Mavlam last year. Like, we were so thin at defense, we had to pull him up, and he played amazing. He did great, and everybody loved him. But that's a great example of a player who needs more time to cook. Man, he needs to add size. He needs to add skill. He went back down to Tucson, and according to Adrian, I didn't think he had the very best standout season, even going back to Tucson. And so to give these kids their dues, and yeah, it might be frustrating to go back and play in the A when you want to be playing in the NHL, but you could also burn somebody out of their pro hockey career by not letting them develop, and they get, thrown to the side where now they have an opportunity to develop. And so I love the additions. I like, again, the type of player that fits that contract that we're trying to fit. And like Adrian said, like, our cap didn't go up by all that much, and definitely adding some key pieces to the team.
One more thing there. Sorry, Jay. One more thing, Casey. Yeah, Bill said it. John Ferguson, the assistant GM and the general manager of Tucson, has said you can't bake for long enough in the AHL, but you can come to the NHL not baked enough. So they always want to be on the first part of that, fully cook the prospects as much as you can to get them ready, so they don't come here and have a culture shock of not being ready. And Casey, yeah, Mav struggled, but the injuries, as I process this season, that poor kid has just had one injury after another, which is really, it's taken his development. I think it's added another year or two to it, and he's worked so hard to come through them. So yeah, but just to echo you, the organizational philosophy has always been you can't develop enough in the AHL, and it's a great league. There's NHL guys down there, Kyler Yamamoto, who should be in the NHL every day of the year, played almost 60 games down there. Those are the kind of players you're going up and competing against every single day.
Were you guys surprised to see Yamamoto sign again, or be signed again after spending almost the entire year in the A? Anyone?
I
How about
don't
you,
think
Bill?
so. I don't think so. I don't. You know, I think he sees the big picture, and I think that's why he made the decision he made. I mean, yeah, he might have played down in the AHL last year for most of the season, but in the end, I think he's like Bill Armstrong. You know, this team's been in development, not just these last couple of years. He was doing things in Arizona for this team over several years. That I really see his vision, and I think he's got a plan, and But I think no, I don't think it's a bad move. I think you know, he wants to be a part of a cup team, and I think everybody does, and so it doesn't surprise me that Bill Armstrong's, you know, making the moves he's making. He's looking long term, and you know, you bring in these short term players, and one, they want so much money. You know, it clogs up your cap, and two, it's just, you know, you see them, they're shopping around for teams all over the place, and so you don't know if someone's going to be loyal to us, like a Patrick Kane staying with the Detroit Red Wings, you know, and so you know, and so it's hard to find that player, and so yeah, I think these are all great moves.
Yeah, I think so. And then, so for me, never in my life, and I've tried to stay by this. Never in my life have I typed LOL. But today I had like a laugh out loud moment when it came across the screen that we signed Brandon Tanev, because that guy's his yearbook picture or whatever you want to say every year with that, yeah, the zombie ghost look is so
What was he
hilarious.
thinking?
And he's such a great player too.
Yeah.
For a 33-year-old, tons of NHL experience to come in, and he's been part of. He was with the Kraken as they were kind of a new team, or when they were a new team. He's somebody that people add for value. He's somebody that we picked up for hardly any of our cap space. And here we go, another seasoned vet that can play both left and right wing, and just kind of a utility, but more of a third, fourth line guy. Um, what were you guys thinking when you saw that? Adrian, let's start with you again.
Yeah, he's physical. The word Bill Armstrong used just a few minutes ago was he's had people call him today and say this guy's going to be a cult hero in Utah. So I think we've just added another fan
He'll take
favorite
over
as
for
well.
spicy tuna.
Yeah. And Jay and Casey and Bill, I went into today knowing exactly what Bill was going to sign, but not who he was going to sign, because we saw the proof of concept last year with Kevin Stenlund and Ian Cole on day one of free agency, and you see the term of the deal and the type of player and the pedigree. I just wasn't sure who. So you look at it, it wasn't a long list. With the salary cap going up this year, teams are able to re-sign their players easier than usual. How many times have we seen it last couple of years? Florida wins the cup. Vegas wins the cup. Colorado wins the cup. They can't sign all their guys. There's just no way. It's impossible. This year, Florida was able to do so. Cap goes up, everybody compromised. So it wasn't necessarily a long list, which is why the Paterka deal was so big, because you wouldn't have been able to get a score today like they did last week. Liked the name, had no idea, even with a short list. Bill kind of gave away Denoye last week that he gave us a couple winks in his press conference before the draft that Denoye, even mentioned it by name, might be the guy, but I had no idea, but I knew it'd be this type of player, just didn't know what his name was going to be. So when it came up, ding, loved it. Let's go.
One of the things I said on the radio is I thought Bill has a way of finding the exact right part to put in the hole that we have, and sometimes you have to look that player up because maybe he's not somebody that stood out on a team you watch a lot. At least in my case, and that was even kind of the case with Paterka. Like when I first heard the trade, I'm like, man, we're trading away a 23-year-old kid with so much, potential. And then I looked, I'm like, oh, we're getting a 23-year-old kid that's already proven himself in the NHL and can put the puck in the net. So it made sense. But yeah, kind of a surprise.
Don't beat yourself up, Jay, because he was in Buffalo. They play all their games at 5 p.m. They're never on TNT. They're never on ESPN when we come home to watch the Wednesday night games, right? the midweek games, and they haven't made the playoffs in 14 years. And we played him twice, and he scored 2 really nice goals against us. So that's why you haven't seen any of JJ Peterka. And I just keep doing it. I did it again last night. Just keep pulling up all of the goals that he scored last season, all 22, and watching them strung melted together. Holy cow!
You posted that. You posted the YouTube
Yeah.
video of every goal he scored last year. And Casey and Bill, I don't know if you guys saw this, but everything he shot, one, he looks like he has a deceptive shot. Two, he shoots from wherever he gets the puck and he doesn't hesitate to shoot, not afraid to chase, but also fits in really nicely on that right side for the one timer. If you put Gunner on the left side and somebody up top on that bumper quarterbacking, all of a sudden our power play that struggled for a while last year looks a whole lot better going into this season. Casey, what are you thinking?
Yeah, no, absolutely. It was a tough day for most of us because again, like you make that trade 10 times out of 10 times. That's a bargain. I saw a lot of, people saying like Buffalo got fleeced. Buffalo obviously is just doing what Buffalo does, where they take a young kid, develop them, and then trade them away so they can go win the cup with some other team, and Buffalo could just stay stuck not making the playoffs. But there's also the personal side, like you said, like losing Donor, losing Kess. I mean, I was just reflecting like the day before I was doing a stick and puck out in West Valley, and some little 10-year-old kid is wearing a Kesselring jersey, and so it's going to be hard conversations, and we love these guys in the community and what they mean to us. But as hockey is a business, it's pretty exciting, especially that thought, like you mentioned, of kind of a mirror image on the other side of the ice to Gunther, and the possibilities there could be pretty cool. So yeah, as far as the trade goes, I thought that was an amazing move.
So, Bill, what are you thinking now? It costs us our OGs, the original gangstas that we had on this roster. That there's always going to be some, I don't know, some special place in your heart, some sympathy when they get traded, or some ownership or companionship or something with those players that we had here at the beginning, whether we got to meet them or not. And Adrian, I know it's got to kill you because you spent so much time with Doan, but Bill, what do you think about being able to give up those pieces, those players that we had for the original year in order to make the team better?
I think, with the NHL being new to Salt Lake City, I think our fans need this. I really do. They need to understand that there's many parts of the NHL in hockey, and unfortunately, business is one of those parts. And so you get attached to these players, but I think with this happening so quickly with those players, it's going to give them an opportunity to see exactly how the system works. And I think we've got a lot of love left for new players in this city. Every game was pretty much sold out. Like, I think this is good for the city, and I think it's good for the team. And evolution's always good because, in the end, we want a cup. We want playoffs. We want that style hockey here in Salt Lake City, Utah. And we know Bill Armstrong's the guy that's going to help do that. And bringing in players like this is what we need. So I think in the end, it's good for the city. It's good for the state, and it lets us feel those, those knives. I mean, I'm in junior hockey, so oh my gosh, the trades and stuff, I'm used to it, but the average fan's not. And so when they lose a player like Kesselring, I think it builds character, and I think it makes them stronger hockey fans. So, I think it's a good thing.
Here's another thing, Bill, to that attachment. I've never seen this before. A team that started the year and finished the year with the exact same roster, right?
Yeah.
We didn't go through anything at the trade deadline. Everybody that finished the year was here at the beginning. So we had 82 games with every single one of these guys. So getting attached, absolutely it happens. And I think it's awesome when you look at the big picture, right? We loved Josh Doan, Michael Kesselring, Kessel King, and the donors and all the cult hero stuff that they brought with them. But it's just another thing that shows the instant connection that these players made with Utah from day one.
Yeah, and you're watching social media too, and you see, when they make these announcements, of course they tag the players, and my gosh, the response from the Utah fans, just welcome to the team. Like, they're already welcoming these players to Utah, and it's overwhelming to see just how strong our hockey community is after just having an NHL team for 1 year. I'm blown away.
So, Casey, whose jersey are you ordering for this season?
Dude, I was just gonna say this is the last time I ever buy a jersey with a name and number on it. Last time. Sporting my Sean Jersey jersey, but yeah, I agree with Bill. I think he said it best. Like, this is good for us. We need to go through this and experience what it's like to lose players that we got attached to. And of course, we'll be cheering them on, wherever they go. And the same thing happened last year before the season. We gave up two amazing players to get Sergachev, but it just didn't hurt in Utah because nobody knew him. Nobody knew Geeky and Moser, and they're playing really well for Tampa Bay. And so that would have sucked if we would have gotten to know them as well. And like Bill said, it's just a business, and kind of get used to it. And don't buy jerseys with names and numbers on them if you don't think they're going to be with the team forever.
Yeah, that might be a lesson for a lot of us, right? Because there are a lot of those jerseys that are the Kessel Rings and the Dones, all those girls for the Donors. They're a great group. Let's talk about Caleb Denoyer just for a second here. I guess we kind of knew it was coming. I had the two that I thought we were going to pick. I knew Denoyer was up there. After the pick, I'm like, okay, Martone I thought was my guy, even like the Martin guy. But then when I watched more game tape, and I did see Denoyer play in the Memorial Cup because I was watching the Utah kid. But it was interesting to look at his game and then go, oh, that is a perfect second line center. He's really good defensively. And like you say, like he'll go back. Well, now the new option is he can go play college for a couple of years too and get NIL money. So mature that way, get bigger, stronger, play less games. But that's a perfect pick for what the future needs. We keep put second line center. It's said time and time again. It's the only harder position on an NHL roster is being the goaltender, behind being a second line center and having to shut down McDavid and Crosby and all the biggest names. Adrian, was that kind of your thought the whole time going into the draft? Is we're picking up a guy to fill that gap?
I told you, Jan, I was being 100% honest, man. I had no idea. Had absolutely no idea. However, Bill said at that presser, with Mr. Denoyer, we've done our process and we'll let you know how it turns out. Word for word. That's what Bill said. He never mentions players by name. Never heard him do that for somebody that's not on our roster. I said to Mike Folta that night at dinner, I said, did you hear Bill? Did he just give something away? Did Bell Frazier get that out of him right there? And he sure enough did.
Well, we didn't know that part of his due process was bringing him through his garage into his backyard for pizza. How did he sneak past everybody?
Have any of you guys ever been to Nomad Pizza up in Yale Crest? That's the neighborhood. Have you? I've never been there, but holy cow, I went to the website. It looks amazing. Bill said it's his favorite place.
I wonder how I'm going to call them and find out how much that's boosted their business being pumped on the because he pumped it on the national show too, right? Like everybody was watching that, so I wonder how that did for him. All right, I've kept you guys as long as I said I'd keep you. Adrian, you're probably looking forward to driving out of Park City and getting home for a minute.
It's almost dinner time. I'm hungry.
All right, closing thoughts.
But never gonna rush you. Never gonna rush you through a podcast, Jay. This is what we do, man.
Yeah, well, I appreciate it. And I've got like 3 or 4 of them this week, so it's been pretty crazy. Adrian, closing thoughts before we let you go.
A+ for July 1st. I think they checked every single box that they wanted to. You added scoring in the trade. You added some grit with Tanev. You added Schmidt because you could, and you got that goaltender depth. Everything Bill listed off going into this, he got today, and he said, yeah, I'd like to get some sleep now because I think it was Bell asked what's next, and he said I'd like to get some sleep. So it's isn't it awesome? Like, I love this. I love this sport. I love the calendar of this sport. Okay, because it's July 1st. This kind of puts us into the off season for the next 2 months until rookie camp, right? Stuff's going to happen. Schedule's going to come out. We'll have some moves here and there. But now we get to go into the summer, enjoy July 4th. August is always the big vacation month for everybody that works in hockey. And I think Bill and the staff for going into it after a great development camp. Bill said it here. It's like there's no team in the NHL that has 5 first-round draft picks in their development camp. Like to watch that, to make the trade, to have the draft, the free agency. It's a nice thing to go into. Probably for Bill, 6 hours of sleep before they get back at it tomorrow.
Do you think he's done with free agents?
Yeah, I think the roster's set. I think you're good. Obviously, if something comes along, if the phone rings and there's another opportunity to get somebody like Nate Schmidt, or throw that in the grocery cart and go to self-checkout, sure. But I think they accomplished every single goal they wanted today. And I look at it. Did anybody in the NHL today sign 3 free agents? Because it was a pretty sleepy day. There was not a lot on the market. As I said earlier, with the cap going up, teams were able to re-sign their guys, and it was a what's the word I use here? It was a garden variety free agent class. It wasn't a super free agent class. It was a just okay free agent class, and for Utah to get 3 guys, that's awesome.
Yeah, pretty big. Casey, what are your closing remarks?
Man, it was just fun. That was my first July 1st that I was really tuning in and pulling open my phone and checking Twitter and listening to NHL Network. It was fun to kind of follow along. And I agree with Adrian. I think we've done a great job building a really dynamic and fun team. And we kept a lot of our same pieces. We've got a lot of assets in development and a lot of trades, in the future. We've got draft picks, we've got money to spend. So yeah, I think I'm pretty happy with the way things are. And like Adrian said, if an opportunity comes along, you got to take it, especially if the price is right. But for now, I'm quite content to just let them, continue on the course and see how these guys get along together.
All right, Bill, what do you got?
This is year 2 going into Salt Lake City with the NHL, and we're no longer the Utah Hockey Club. We're going to be the Mammoth now. And so I'm excited for all those firsts again, and I think we're going to get a great year of hockey, and this team just proves it. I mean, I feel good about the team moving forward, and especially the new players, but I'm also excited for the returners, and I think we've got a solid roster. I really do. And I know I've been telling this to people for a long time, but I think we almost made the playoffs last year, and I think this is our year. I think we're going to dive in there, and I think we've got the team for long-term playoffs and maybe a cup down the road. So I'm really excited about the changes. It's been fun watching all the July 1st stuff happen, especially with the trades and I was at the NHL draft last year, couldn't go this year, but I think it's been a fun, dramatic, especially with that one kid, his mom died, his billet mom died. It's been a huge year this year it just seems a lot more crazy than normal. So I'm excited to be a hockey fan, and I think I'm in the right place in the country to have the best experience with it. So I'm excited. Thanks for having me today.
Man, well said. Well said by all of you. I'm just going to say the same thing. Like, it's been fun to watch, and I think, I get accused of being just a Mammoth fan or whatever, but it's a lot of fun to watch this team, and it was a lot of fun last year. And I think we upgraded everywhere we needed to upgrade, or everywhere we could upgrade, we upgraded. And if we barely missed the playoffs last year and we already made some upgrades, I do want to see some of these kids get some games this year, but I don't want to see it because of injury. So I don't know how you balance that. So, I'm just in it to see what happens, and I'm excited to be, I guess, a journalist that gets to cover it and podcast on it and talk about it. And I don't know. I think the fans are in for a big treat, and I just want to thank you guys all for being on the show. And before I go, anybody got one more thing to add, or should we end it here? All right, sounds like we're done.